Oh, the arcades. Boy, we miss you. It seems like not too long ago this was the only place to enjoy a fine video game. But now look at us, we're spoiled. And look at how many franchises started in the arcade and are still going strong today. But unlike the ones shown in the previous segment, I'm not going to talk about the classics that we all know and love. I'm going to talk about the most underrated, underappreciated arcade game of all time. It's not Pac-Man, it's not Street Fighter, and it's not Dig Dug. It's Woo! Of course it's Metal Slug! What'd you think it was gonna be? This game is the best. This game does not get the respect it deserves. This thing ate more quarters from me than I will ever publicly admit. This game ruined my life. Of course I love it. It has everything going for it. Everything about it is nostalgic and bliss. And I am telling you, after this video, if you don't want to run out and play Metal Slug, well, then I guess there's always Bubsy or something for you. Anyways, let's get right into this. Now I know Metal Slug is all about the vehicles, more or less the tank, the Metal Slug here, but this game has so much going for it. This is like just a shooter that's been doing HGH for about 3 cycles deep, and then he's been handed 2 Red Bulls. And I'm not talking about those wussy 8-ounce ones, I'm talking about a Red Bull. Now, there's nothing more fun than a good shooter and a shoot 'em up, and this sort of combines everything good about a shooter and a platform. If there's one negative I could say about this game, it probably is the jumping. It does make the platforming kind of difficult, but at the same time, it really is fun with kind of the wonky floaty controls, because it does almost like feel very accomplishing when you do dodge the just myriad and a ridiculous amount at times of obstacles and bullets and grenades and just everything that happens. It's just crazy. It's chaos. It's contained, but it's not contained. It's just something that I have never played a game that has ever even come close to how Metal Slug plays, as far as its pace and as far as kind of the shooter platformer, just ridiculous over-the-topness. There's nothing close to it, to be quite honest, and I know there's a lot of clones of this game. To me, it's all about the original Metal Slug. So let me give you a fun story about me and Metal Slug. I was a sophomore in high school in 2008. Quite some time ago now at this point. It doesn't feel like that long ago. And so my friend was actually selling his PlayStation Portable. There will be a video about the PSP coming on this channel if you're interested. He was selling his PSP, and lo and behold, he had the Metal Slug Anthology. I did not own a PSP. He sold his PSP, but he did not sell the Metal Slug Anthology, a SOCOM game, a Family Guy game, and some cables for his TV so you could link it and play it. What I did buy was that a copy of Metal Slug Anthology, because I thought, wow, that is the absolute coolest thing I've ever seen. I have to have that. So that's a fun story. I bought a PSP game even though I didn't even own a PSP. Eventually I did get one when Hollywood Video went out of business. Thanks, Dad, for my birthday, you know. Woo! But long story short is, I have deep ties as I have played this game so many times. Now, I'm pretty trash at it, admittedly, but you know, this is a very difficult game, okay? It's not supposed to be a game that you're just going to pick up and dominate unless you really are diligent and play and play and play, which is kind of the whole point. It is an arcade game, an old school arcade game at that, too. It's really trying to get you to pump as many quarters as you can, and I hadn't picked this up in quite some time. It's probably been a year or two since I played this. I picked the Anthology up on the PS4. You know, thank goodness for modern consoles and their willingness to just release everything multiple times and see how many times you can buy it. Well, the joke's on me. I buy, you know, games that I have already bought more regular than I'd like to admit on, you know, camera here. But so I'm playing it here, and I think I got 33 continues, right, which would have mean I've spent 33 quarters, which, you know, goddamn, you know, I'm pretty trash. just recording the amount of clips. And mind you, I did take like 2 different calls when I was playing this, so I'm not the world's worst player. But let's talk about why this game is so good. It all comes down to me for level structure. They're always kind of varying, and they're all kind of similar. In the aspect, that there's nothing too crazy going on with them. It's platforming, it's walking straight and going right. But the thing about Metal Slug that's so fun is all the secrets, the different paths you can take. It's the different weapons. Everybody's got a favorite weapon in Metal Slug. There's some that are definitely more OP than others. And I've never checked the tiered list, so I don't know. But I have to say the shotgun, without a doubt, is my favorite. I think the variety of this game being so linear, but having so many different options is quite astounding. You can do a lot on the same level. It gives it a lot of replayability. Now, mind you, I would suggest, picking up the Anthology with its unlimited continues on the PS4. Now, the PSP version did not have unlimited continues, so you had to get good, boy. But, one more thing that I have to point out and why I think this game will ultimately stand the test of time. I mean, look, it's 2018, and it's already having a crotchety mid-20-year-old man go ahead and rant about it. But just look at the art style. Now, this is the kind of thing that can just hold up forever. You look at a lot of games when this came out, it was the mid-early 90s, right, around that time. The polygonal era was just about to boom, and so a lot of games, even like early fighting arcade cabinets, they just don't stand up like this does. This looks like it was dipped in butter and then coated in a layer of carat gold of the highest quantity. So it looks really nice, and you can't say anything about the visuals. At least I won't complain about it because I think they look so fun. I think the point I'm trying to make is this game's visuals look fun. Everything looks like a cartoon. It's supposed to look like that. It's not supposed to be ultra realistic. I mean, nothing about this game is realistic. It's an arcade game for the sole purpose of being ridiculous and over the top, and that is most certainly the fun. Now, reasons that it will ultimately be one of, in my mind at least, remembered as arguably the best arcade game of all time is I love the visual style. I love the attention to detail. If you look in the background, there's always something weird or janky going on. It's not just a generic 2D plane with just a painted-in background. There's going to be a villain, up in a window, or there's going to be a mountain scene with like fog rolling in, or a bat coming out of a cave. Small things like that really you don't notice when you're a youngster, but you do appreciate when you're a little bit older and you're playing it going, wow, that's crazy that, you don't think people are going to put this much effort into something like this, but, admittedly, this game has quite a following and a reputation and donned so many sequels, so, clearly it works. I mean, look at this, for instance, I'm shooting a wall purposely because there's a tank up there, but I know it's going to fall down and crumble. Now, that's pretty neat. Admittedly, pretty much a bad idea, and you wouldn't want to do that. But for the sake of this vidya, I went ahead and did it just because it's cool. The environments are destructive. You can do a lot of things each playthrough. You can learn faster routes. You can learn what enemies are really weak to what. I think if I had to say one thing, the grenades are just an absolute must to getting good. I'm not very good in the vehicles, and so that kind of poses a problem, and I know that's kind of the point, and I'm strictly just talking about the original Metal Slug. I will go into detail on all of them if that is something that is required, because I just love to deer. I think I have a hard time picking my favorite one because they're just so there's so many good things about a lot, but I really do like X or 3. I don't know, one of those. One of those. See, a number pun. But, there's just something satisfying about saving the POWs, and the fact that they add all these, like, pop culture references in the games are funny, and the music's so good. It's all fast-paced, and it's crazy, it's zany, it matches everything perfectly, and later in the series, the POWs start throwing Hadoukens. It's so awesome. I mean, this game truly is a gem, and I don't understand, at least when I talk to some of the pals or people who I know that are like kind of enthusiasts about Vidya games. This game never gets brought up, though it is something that if somebody was an old arcade old boy or gal that it is looked fondly, but it's never like a top choice. But for me, this was my top choice. Now I am, better at certain arcade games. Like I fancy myself a pretty good Pac-Man player, and Dig Dug, I can go yard on those. But this was always the one that was the draw for me. If this was there, I was going for Metal Slug every time, just because it was so much fun. It's such a fun co-op experience. It's honestly an easier game co-op. Now, mind you, I was just playing by myself, which makes it so hard. Another thing that's great about this game are the iconic boss battles at the end of each level. They always, some of the levels do have like the mini boss about, a half or a third way through, but the bosses being very difficult every time. They're not very easy. And what's cool about this game is you can get bodied by like the most generic green suited generic soldier you have ever seen. He can just it's always it seems to me like when they're always jumping around with a knife. This is a pretty dangerous aspect to do here. You don't want to do that in real life, but they're not afraid. So I have to say I have a lot of fond memories with this game. I think when I think really hard about arcade games, one that comes to mind that people are really fond of, and it's probably a little bit more of a generational thing, is Donkey Kong. And I get that's a classic game. It's great. It has every right to be heralded as it is. But the variety is what gets me with Metal Slug and all of its iterations, is why I think it is so darn dang good. The different weapons, the addition of different characters, and them actually kind of being different amongst each other, having different strengths and whatnot. It just has so much to offer. It's not a very long game, okay? It is something you can tackle pretty quickly, especially with like the unlimited continues and the not running to the quarter dispensary with your dollar crying and hoping nobody takes your game. So you can tackle this game probably in like 30 minutes, if that. But luckily in the anthology, there's quite a few games stacked up, and they get a little bit longer as the series goes on. Now, mind you, this is the first one, so they were, I'm sure, still learning about what to do. But I just can't. I wish I was there during the development of this, because they just had to know this was like so cool and so ahead of its time and so awesome. And they were just like, oh man, we gotta keep this one on the DL. I like how they subtly make everything kind of like look like they're a certain fascist group from Germany in the 30s and 40s, but at the same time they kind of look like Fidel Castro and Cubans half the time. It's very strange. It's very awesome. It kind of brings the whole zaniness factor back around. But again, I think Metal Slug is the most underappreciated arcade game of all time, and if you want to challenge me that, I say go ahead. In the intro, I actually almost put Point Blank as my most underrated game, but that I thought is a little too difficult, so I had to go with Metal Slug, even though I know it's probably a harder game ultimately, but it's just more fun. I think it is, as an experience, it's something that was so neat to do as a kid. So again, if you have a disagreement with me, go ahead and leave what you think the best arcade game of all time was. I'm all open ears. But again, this is Connor from Impromptu Productions, and thank you for watching. More stuff coming soon, hopefully. So if you liked it, stick around, hit that subscribe button.